Hey there, it's Annie, and welcome to episode number 23 of the Bold, Brave, and Sassy Show. My guest this week is Nicole Gebhardt, and while she is an expert in helping you to get your book written, published, completed, and out into the world, even if you're not thinking of ever writing a book, I want you to listen to this episode. She has incredible tips and insights that are going to help you take a dream that's stuck in you and move it forward out into the world, especially if that dream involves inspiring and encouraging and helping other people move forward in their journey. So I want you to listen in, and I know that when you do, you are going to be blessed and informed and activated to some degree because she has incredible things to say. And I just love her, and she's a treat to interview, and she's a treat to know as a human being. And she really does have an incredible heart. So I hope that you enjoy this episode, and of course, subscribe, download, and I would really love your review. If you are enjoying the show, you can review it from your iTunes app, or you can go online to do that. That helps iTunes to know that people are listening and people are liking it, and they push it out to more people, which is really my goal. I want it to bless you, but I want it to bless and reach as many people as possible to inspire them as well. So thank you for doing that, and now we're going to get on to the show. What if you could live your life judgment-free? Are you ready to live the unapologetic, confident life God designed for you? Then this is the place to be. Welcome to the Bold, Brave, and Sassy Show. It's time to break free of physical, spiritual, and heart-centered challenges that have held you back for way too long. Listen in for fun and powerful tips and tools to help you break free today. Hear from our leading experts, along with me, Annie Berryhill, your host and personal guide to freedom. Now it's time to live like no one's judging. Let's go. Hey everybody, welcome to the Bold, Brave, and Sassy Show. I'm your host, Annie Berryhill. And if you've been listening for any amount of time, or if you haven't, I'm going to tell you that today you're in for a treat. Now, some of you guys know that I've written a book. I love books more than probably a lot of things in the world. Maybe exercise is about even with that, but I love books. And so to become a published author was one of my greatest achievements in my life. And today I have my friend, Nicole Gebhardt, who is a master and a whiz and runs a business all around helping people publish their book. So let me give you a little background, a little formal background on Nicole, and then we're going to jump in. I'll introduce you to her, and we're going to have some fun. So Nicole is the CEO of Niche Pressworks Publishing and Marketing. She's a marketing strategist. Through marketing consulting and book publishing, she helps speakers, coaches, consultants, and business leaders establish their authority brand, expand their influence, and inspire audiences to action. Over the last 24 years, you guys, from the least to the greatest, she has helped build brands, expand influence, and equip authors who change the world. I love the sound of that. Welcome, Nicole. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Annie.
Thank you. Such an impressive bio. You do such amazing things. And I can't even remember how we very, very first met. I know we had the event with Amy Porterfield that we went to together, but maybe it was B School or NACWE or I don't remember how we first met, but I'm so glad that we know each other.
Yeah, thank you. I love the social media. We keep in touch. So yes.
Exactly. So like I said in the beginning, I'm an author too. So I'm always really attracted to people who are helping authors find their way. So how did you get started in this?
The long story or the short? I'll give you the quick synopsis. I have a degree in graphic design, and I worked for Caterpillar for 12 years, managing employee communications. And I had the fortunate opportunity to work under 6 Caterpillar vice presidents while I was there. And several of them took me under their wing and taught me strategy, communication strategy, business strategy, which really shifted my perspective on how to get things done. Mm-hmm. And then I left that corporate career and decided to come home and raise my babies. And that's a story in itself. But So when I was home, I first was really bored. So I started doing freelance graphic design. Then I started several small home-based businesses. So I did the Creative Memories. I did Uppercase Living. I did the network marketing. I experienced, I just kept poking around trying to find my thing. I went back to graphic design and I started consulting business owners on marketing. And then I started teaching them how to use the pieces that I was doing. And eventually I went into full-time marketing strategy consulting for professional services. And I was finding that business owners just didn't have the time to do the marketing work that they needed to do. And so it was futile for me to train them on all the things they could do because they were barely keeping their head above water. And I went intentionally and I said, there's got to be a better way. If I could get their undivided attention for a short amount of time, could we create something that would last 6 months or longer? That was my goal. And so the first thing I did is I started teaching business owners how to schedule 6 months worth of social media in one afternoon. And then I started teaching them how to automate their sales funnels, right? Automate with email marketing and doing that. And then I attended a book workshop for my own self. I was going to tell my story. That was the aha moment that I had, that really publishing a book could be the ultimate marketing asset for my clients. And so that was probably about 6 years ago. We published our first book in 2012 for a client. And eventually it's gotten to the point now, I believe, for a business owner who's really trying to grow, this is the number one single best investment they can make. So about 2 years ago, we switched our business to completely focusing only on publishing for business leaders. So
wow.
And that's where we've gone. And we're getting ready to celebrate our 100th author, or 100th book. We've got over 100 authors in process, and we'll be publishing our 100th book soon. So it's been an amazing journey. It's a God journey, and it's fun. I love creating tangible things in a world that is so digital. So.
Right. That and human connection, I think, are the same things. If you talk to a lot of people, I have a Kindle just because I move a lot, but I much prefer real books.
Yeah.
I get a little frustrated because I'm a dog ear person, underliner, things that stick out to me. I'll put a flag on it. But it's one of those really amazing things. Now, what I'm really curious about, because this show is really all about getting out of your own way and walking into who God designed you to be. So for some people, writing a book can be really a labor of love. I know for my book, it was the culmination of things that I had learned that I felt like, I don't want this to be wasted. I want other people to be able to utilize kind of what I've put together. And I really felt like God showed me the path. It took me 3 years to write it, but I wasn't really committed until the end. But I think a lot of people want to write a book, but just like any other goal that they want in their life, they have an imposter syndrome. Who am I to write a book? Outside of maybe a business owner who is just going to teach you a skill or promote their business in a business sense. Sometimes that might be a little easier because it's not so close to the heart. I think when we create things that are like art, right? When they come literally from the inside of us, it's the scariest thing to do because we don't want anybody to trample on it. And people are just that way. Somebody's going to disagree with it. It's just the bottom line, right? So what have you encountered, I guess, is the biggest challenges for an author when they say, okay, I've crossed the line. I've decided to write a book. What are some of the challenges that typically come up for those people?
There's a couple of biggies. So the first thing is that, I always try to coach clients at the very beginning and in understanding that this is a courage game. Like you are taking your business to the next level, right? And you're exposing yourself in ways that you can no longer control, right? And now, even just the reality of Amazon reviews, right? All of those steps, right? And taking your business to the next level, developing your book idea and raising even your own skill set, right? All of it is a tremendous courage game. So trying to do that alone is something that's very difficult. The self-doubt shows up, the smallness voice, right? This isn't good enough, the start over. And that's how we lose people. That's how it takes 2 to 3 years for some people to try to write a book. And it's really just all about the courage to finally say, I'm okay with who I am, what I know, and I'm going to get this done. And I'm going to step into the greatness of where I'm going.
That's powerful. The courage game. Really, isn't that a metaphor for all of anything that we want to do in our life? Like if we want to step out and do something new, we have to have the courage that we don't know everything and we haven't experienced it yet. So we don't have anything to base it on. It's just, I'm going to take a step. I'm going to walk, step out of the boat
Yeah.
right? And just trust that this is going to work. I know for me, when I was working on my book, and like I said, I had written parts of it and chunks of it, I had a very clear vision of it from the beginning. And as I just kept walking it out, more was revealed, more structure and more information. And I know a lot of times I would be driving in the car and I would get an inspiration, right? Because I would, the shower, taking a walk, driving, those times where you're kind of physically occupied with something else, your mind can relax a little bit and kind of give you all the information that's been sitting in there anyway. And I remember just grabbing my headphones, turning on my phone and recording it and then transcribing it. And then that eventually became part of the book. But what helped me was exactly what you said. When I finally committed to someone publishing my book where they were editing it and doing all this stuff, and I had somebody else's eyes on it, and I was getting feedback from them that, wow, this is really great, or I really like the way you wrote that, because you doubt yourself in it. You just hear it so much. You're just in this mud and this muck, and you're just like, I only hear my same voice and it's telling me negative stuff. This couldn't possibly be good. Nobody else would like it, that kind of thing. But to hear somebody else from the outside say, wow, that's really good, was so encouraging, and it really boosted me to keep going forward, right? And is that something that you experience a lot with your authors? I mean, what's the ratio of people, like if you took 100 people that started with you, how many people actually finish the book in, say, a year?
For us?
Yeah.
98%.
Oh, that's good. Because you don't let them drop.
We don't, that's the thing, right? It's the accountability. It is that, actually our goal is to help our authors write their book in 3 to 4 months. And so, and you got to understand, right? By the time somebody is committing financially to do this, they've overcome a lot of the courage. They're ready to step up. It takes tremendous courage to start a business, right? For me to leave my corporate career, I loved my corporate career. To leave that was huge. To start out as a graphic designer freelance was huge, and have to go out and get my own clients. And then to say that I'm a marketing strategy coach, when I didn't have a degree in marketing, and I was up against companies that had, 7 and 10 employees in their firm locally, right? Every step of life is about the courage game. And it's about, I've got to get there, right? When we are on a God mission, we know we've got to get there. But the other interesting thing that I see with authors is they'll play it safe within the bold step. So one of the biggest things that we talk about when I bring on a new client is, I'm going to say 9 times out of 10, they're planning to write the wrong book.
Oh,
and so, which is huge for us, huge. So I always prefer that I'm working with a client from the beginning, because, in the traditional publishing world, people expect, well, I've got to write the book, then I deliver it to the publisher. So we're actually publishing services. So I'm actually your book coach, and then we're going to take care of self-publishing on your behalf. So we get that process done, because in my opinion, a business leader, the worst investment of a business leader's time is trying to find their own editor, set up their own accounts, right? Trying to get the design right, and all of the, 500 steps that goes into just trying to get your book out, barcodes and ISBN and pricing. So I want to keep my client off of the things that's not relevant. And the author and I are going to stay focused on what matters most, which is, how do we get this message, the right message, in your book and out into the world so that we can change more lives? And so we stay focused on that. But when we go back to courage, it's interesting. On their own, they'll typically write the book that plays it safe. They'll write the book. They won't necessarily think strategically about really where they're going. So when I work with a client, what we're saying is, where are you going to be in 3 years? Because we want the book that's going to serve you to get you where you're going in the next 3 years, versus the book that they will naturally want to write, which is the one where they are now. And when that happens, they'll outdate the book within a year. They'll outlive it quickly. I mean, a lot of times they'll come out and that book will be really too small for them. As soon as they're a published author and they're already starting to get the recognition, they'll outgrow that book really quickly.
Right.
So,
I heard some things in there too, was also vision, right? We can't move from where we are to a new place without the vision of that ahead of time. And even if it's not a complete vision, like, they don't know all of what will happen. None of us do, right? Because we step out in faith and commit the money and the time to putting this project together. And I can use project because it may be a book. It may be building a business. It may be creating art, whatever it is. We're talking about, like, these are integral parts of moving from where you are forward. And that's courage and vision.
Right.
Without vision, men will perish. That's just a fact. And I like too how vision, again, it's like getting out of the boat. More things will be revealed to you as you take those steps forward of courage, right? You're not going to get the whole thing downloaded to you. They could never assimilate all that information that when they're starting out, because you already know, well, then this is going to happen and this is going to happen. But I love that idea because I can hear in the description, the book that they want to write isn't the book that they need to write.
Right.
And you're looking at it strategically from a business standpoint, but it also reflects a tendency of people even making the bold step to still be small, like you said. It's kind of in the sense of what I've come up with Bold, Brave, and Sassy. And Sassy is really unapologetically confident, right? So I'm going to write the book that I feel really, really strongly about writing, not because I'm trying to please somebody, but because it is my job. This was given to me to put out into the world, and I'm going to do it in the way that it is important and conveyed to me. Right. So, I mean, again, I can see both sides of like the real life application as it relates to a book, but I love that you're really just such a resource to keep them going. Hey there, it's Annie, popping by to ask you a quick something. I'm wondering if you've been feeling stuck somewhere in your life. Maybe you're asking yourself, how did I end up in this body, this situation, or this negative way of thinking? When did I lose control? If you are, I want you to understand, first of all, that you are not alone. I have been through so many of those types of challenges in my life too, and really felt powerless and lost. But I did find my way back, and now I feel like I'm better than ever, and I want to help you to find your way too. I want you to get through that process easier and faster than I did. So what I want to do is to offer you the opportunity to have a private lifestyle strategy session with me so that you can gain some clarity and confidence to move from feeling stuck to feeling free in your own life. All you have to do is go to the show page at boldbravesassshow.com and just enter your information into the box right below the little picture header at the top. And then you'll be guided through the steps to schedule your own session. I promise at the end of our 30 minutes together, you'll have the additional insights and understanding about how to move through your stuck places and into the unapologetically confident life that God has designed for you to live. Make sure to grab your spot. They are limited and filling up super fast. Thanks so much. Now back to the show.
So let's use an example of what happens for all of us, right? So we start to step in, we start to see glimpses of our bigger vision, right, where we're headed. And so we take that step. And so in my experience, right, of course, it's writing the book. And what I'll run into is the client will write the book, they're going to play it safe, right? So they'll write to the client typically one level lower than where they're headed, right? So if we're going to pull you to the greatness that you're headed, right, we've got to write to the person that you're intended to serve. And so a lot of times in the comfort zone, they'll write, I always like the expression, right? Every fourth grader is a rock star to a third grader.
Yeah.
Right? So the fourth grader will write to the third grader. The problem is, as soon as you become a published author, you're already a fifth grader, right? Or you're sixth grader, right? You've already made those steps. And suddenly you're still writing to third graders. Well, it's a double whammy, because now the book to a third grader, right? The third graders are looking at you, and a lot of times they see your new business and they're like, oh, I would love to afford you, but I can't, right? I'm not ready for that. So the third grader doesn't feel ready for fifth grade at all. And the sixth grader is looking at you going, oh, wow. The fifth grader, where you're at now, the one you're meant to serve, they're looking at your book, but going, oh, that's a fourth grade book. I've already graduated past that. I need somebody just like her, but in my grade. And so it's a double whammy, but you've got to have somebody, whether you're writing a book or you're in your business, who is there to encourage you to say, no, that's not, you're beyond that. Like, we're pulling you, we're pulling this greatness out of you, and we're going to get you to the next level.
Yeah. And it's almost like already acting as if the person you are as a fifth grader, but you're still a third or a fourth grader, right? And sometimes that's hard. Although if you're a third grader and you have a big brother that's a fifth grader, it's a lot easier to see. So you become like the big brother, right? Where you're like, I'm going to show you that like fifth grade, it's cool and it's amazing, but you're not that far from it. And we're going to get you there. I think that's a great way to describe it. And it is the process of growth for people. And we don't grow alone. We have people alongside us who encourage us. And if we don't, the growth is non-existent or slower for sure. Right? People who believe in us and are not just blowing smoke. Because, one of the things that I always say to people, I'm such a straight shooter that I don't want you, just because I'm paying you to work for me or to get something done for me, that you're just going to, placate me and tell me everything's hunky-dory. Nope. I strive for excellence. Because I'm a recovering perfectionist, I strive for excellence, right? And so I don't want somebody telling me that something is good and it's not. And of course, there's always that component of perspective. But in your job, you have to, I'm sure, remain objective enough that you can see things for what they are and speak truth, right?
Here's the other. So courage is really interesting, because the number one fear, once we've got a client starting their book, they're terrified of the process of giving it to me to review and to the editors to review. And that was a huge aha. Just a couple of years ago, I realized, that this fear keeps lingering. Like every step is a courage step. So we've now implemented steps along the way of the writing the book so that we're staying with them. But I've got their back. I mean, it is, I'm not afraid anytime to come back and say, you can do better. Like let's make this stronger, and working with them, because that's who you need. It's funny. I had a client who brought a book to me. He had written the whole book. It was a 255-page sales book. And actually, I've had this twice now. Both of them had 7 peers review the book and give them their feedback. And then they bring it to me and I read the book and I'm like, we can't publish this. Like you cannot publish this book. It's the wrong direction, whatever. And within 1 hour of a phone conversation, it's not like they're defeated. They realize, wow, I see now why we shouldn't do that. But so the one author came to me and he had written the whole book. He sends with his book, right, the 7 feedbacks from everybody else going, wow, good job. He published this book. And I go to him and say, you can't publish this book, right? How many words? There were 346 uses of the word "that" in there. It was interesting. It was just, first, it was poor writing, but it was so technical, 255 pages. We ended up getting it down to 140 pages, to give you an idea. We just started throwing things out. But one of the people that had given the reviews called me up afterwards and said, thank you so much for changing the book. I was too afraid to tell him. I just wanted to encourage him, right, to publish it. And I think that's the biggest difference. Is a lot of times we have friends in whatever we're doing that don't know the industry, right, don't understand the challenges, but they love us and they want to encourage us. And having those people around you is vital, but you need that accountability person sometimes too, who's got your back to say, this, you're headed for greater things than this, and we want to support you in that. And here's where the adjustments we need to make, and we do that together.
And I think that's such a safe place. And in this world of creativity, when we are creators of art, music, writing, all of these different things, they do come from the inside of us. And so it sometimes feels like you're being splayed open and vulnerable, really, really vulnerable. And I remember the feeling of, oh, you're going to send it to a professor of English at the college to edit. I was like, oh, my mom's going to be so embarrassed, because I think I'm a very decent writer and a conveyor of the English language, but I'm not perfect. And someone who works in that field is so focused, hyper focused on the technicalities, which I wasn't. When I wrote, that wasn't my goal, right? And I think it's really interesting, that trust factor, where you can either have the result or you can have your safety, right? You can have what's always been, or you can take a step of scariness and trust that the person who said they have your back is going to tell you truth, but never in a way that's meant to hurt you. It's only meant to grow you. And we all need people like that in our lives. And especially when we're giving birth to something as close to us as a book, right. Even a sales book, it still comes from your brain. It's still your child in a sense.
Yeah. Well, and you look at what's the intent for the book for our clients. I always say that we want a book that's going to inspire and encourage and equip readers. And our ultimate goal is, with any one of our books, we want to inspire people to take action. So we've got to look at, how do we effectively do that? So you may be the topic expert, right? But now let's merge our skills together and figure out, how do we really move people from page 1 to page 100, where page 100, they feel equipped to go out and take the next best step. And what is that next best step for them? right? And how do we do that? And that is, that's the real challenge of writing a really good book, and then looking for the audience to get something really great out of it that changes lives.
Again, you make some really great points that apply to life, because I see this difference between pontificating and pouring everything in because you think you need more information, and actually cutting out the fluff and getting to the meat so that people can, like you said, be equipped and they'll take action. I mean, that was really my goal when I wrote my book. It's everything I do is about taking action. I don't want people to listen to this show and go, "Oh, that was a lovely conversation," and then boom, they leave. I hope they remember courage. I hope they remember vision. I hope they remember, I know who to go to because I really want to write a book now. I really want them to be inspired, which is the God-breathed, like inspiration, move, let's go. And I think sometimes we get a little bit full of ourselves, or think that we need to write or create something for this person, which is all these people, and we forget what's inside of us. And that's what we're supposed to do. It doesn't matter what other people think. It really, really, really doesn't, because opinions are just opinions. Everybody's got them. It's not like excuses, but everybody's got their opinion, and it's okay. I can respect yours. You can respect mine. We don't have to be adversaries because we differ.
I think one of the things I love about what you talk about is, just forgetting about being judged. Mm-hmm. Right. I used to have a fabulous business coach early when I first started my professional career outside of Caterpillar, right when I came home. And she said, this is really about ego. And the problem is your ego makes you think it's about you. Mm-hmm. It is not at all about you. It's about delivering the message or the product, the service, whatever that the other person needs. And when you understand how desperately someone needs your knowledge, your experience, your story for their life, you take the focus off of you, and we say, all right, we got to get this book done. And we've got to write the book. We've got to do the mission. We've got to do the work, whatever it is, because they're waiting on it. It is not about us. It's about them.
It's so amazing. It's really true. And that takes so much pressure off of you, because it is so much easier to go and do something for someone else, serving them, paying attention to their needs, because the human brain cannot focus on two things at once. You can't be thinking about yourself and serving someone else wholeheartedly, right? So when we're doing that in our writing or anything that we do in life, the ego is such a trap. I mean, the whole thing with the ego is that we're center and keeping us safe, right? That's the whole goal of the ego in the human mind. And it doesn't work. It's a totally different book. And have you read Story Brand, Donald Miller?
No, I've skimmed it. I've not read it all, but yes.
He just recently he had it on sale for Audible for like $2 or something. But I started the book. It's that same thing. As marketers, as people in business, your business isn't about you. So if you're talking only about you and your business, your potential client doesn't care, because they are the hero of their own life. And you are the guide that helps them move from one place to the next. It's like the hero's journey. Really. Yes. It's really, he uses kind of that framework without saying it, but it's really true when, people are self-centered, and we're just naturally that way. We have to preserve ourselves, right? Nobody else is going to preserve our life like we will. So we have to speak to them where they are about them. In anything, whether we're in ministry or, we're talking about them in relationship to Jesus. We're talking to them in relationship to the community, right? They want to know that. It's powerful, powerful.
And you got to do it without overwhelming them, scaring them. And, about 50% of our books are in the health and wellness space. And I work with a lot of authors, and that's a particularly dangerous area, right? So the natural tendency for, let's say, a personal trainer is to write the book on, the 51 moves you need to do at home, how to work out at home, right? And by the way, give up gluten, dairy, and so they'll dump everything in the book because they want to share all of their knowledge. Mm-hmm. And what happens is the reader's like overwhelmed. The first thing we know is if they could work out at home, they would have been doing that, because there's no shortage of great stuff on Pinterest, YouTube, right? That they could work out at home. What they're looking for is just the encouragement, just the first step. So we pull back the book without scaring them, and we look at it and say, how do I help you get in the mindset to make the first, the second, maybe, one or two great steps? And where I really need to be pulling you is into the door to work with me one-on-one, because that's where I'm going to make the life-changing effects or benefits for your life. And so that's a very different book. And that's the kind of things we look at in any of our communication strategy is how do we take the person that I'm working with and help them along one major step?
There's no point in trying to tackle too many. And
Yeah.
one of the really important coaching things that I've learned is a couple things. Approaching it is, I know this sounds really counterintuitive, but what if I can't help them? How would I speak to them? I would not be telling them what to do. I'd be listening to them. I'd be asking them more questions. Well, what do you think we should do? What have you tried? Really listening. And I think a lot of times when you're trying to position yourself as an authority, you do a lot of telling and teaching. You actually don't get down in the dirt with people. And I feel like that to me is the most important thing. We were talking before we started, and that's really the person that God has laid on my heart. That person who's gotten to this place where their face is in the dirt and they don't know if they can get up one more time. They don't need a book about dirt. They don't need a book about what muscles they're going to use to push themselves up. They need someone to look them in the face and be on the ground and say, I'm here. What do you want to do from here? You want to get up? Let's do it together. Right. And that's what you do with your books. And that's what I do with my clients. And I think we all need that. I needed my publisher when I did my book to help me along. Like there is 100% no way that book would have ever been finished. 100%. And of course, talking to you right now, I'm like, oh, which of the 9 books in process should I pursue next with Nicole? I've always got books I'm writing because that's just me, But I really, really, I love this conversation. And as we were getting ready for this interview, there was a million topics that we could talk about. But what I always want to be able to provide is those action steps and that encouragement, like you talk about with your authors and what they want to bring. And I love the direction that this conversation has taken with courage. I mean, that is really what we all need. That's being brave. It's being afraid and doing it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Taking regular steps and just keep going. And it's such a cool thing that you've encompassed this in creating authors who become, do it over and over, because you're not just changing lives through their book, you're changing their life, and who they are and how they go about their business. And that's powerful stuff. I love it.
I love what you said. We talked about it briefly before we started, but writing a book is an act of love for the reader. Mm-hmm. Writing the right book is an act of love for the reader. And that takes courage for you. Mm-hmm. And it takes strategy, it takes vision, and it takes support, accountability, right? Mm-hmm. To get it done. So.
Oh, this is awesome,
beautiful.
Nicole. Oh, Nicole, you're a powerful woman. I love everything you've shared today. I adore it. And I think this is a really great place to just sort of wrap this up so we don't, overwhelm the brains of the people that are listening, that you can just walk away with these few key points. And I'm definitely going to put in the show notes all your contact information. So all those authors that are the closet authors that want to be authors, who want to take that next step forward and just maybe talk to you and get that hour of time that clarifies things, they'll be able to get in touch with you. And I so appreciate you being here.
Thank you. It's an honor. Thank you very much.
An absolute delight. So thank you everyone for listening to the Bold, Brave, and Sassy Show. This is Annie Berryhill. I hope that you'll subscribe to the show on iTunes, tune in frequently, share it with your friends. Hey, and even leave us a review. We'd love that too. So come back again. We'll have another great guest and another great topic that will encourage you and help you to take the next step towards the goals and the dreams that you want for your life that God implanted into you. And He's making you ready. So tune in again. Thank you so much.